I think like this year, it's gonna change the way that we as designers will work by making sure that all of us could have access to tools like Claude on whatever project or company that you're working in right now. So shaping the real product that you're working on in real time, it will probably be the norm. Making a fix or like changing something on prod, it's just, let's say, one prompt away. And you're not so much anymore interacting with static screens on a canvas, like a tool like Figma or so, but you're more treating the code base as the sort of truth, and you're evolving that in real time.
What does it actually take to turn an idea into a real product using AI? I'm Ellie Rastian. This is AI Designer Club. Today I'm talking to Felix Lebedinzew, Head of Design at Getsafe. He built an iOS app called Still. Let's get into it.
Felix Lebedinzew, welcome to AI Designer Club.
Nice to be here with you. Good to see you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. So yeah, hello guys. My name is Felix and I'm a designer. I've spent roughly like a decade working in fintech, formerly with Revolut, and now I'm heading design at Getsafe in insurtech here in Germany. And yeah, today I want to show you a bit about a personal side project. As these days things are evolving around our craft and especially with AI, the way we're designing, the way we're building products. So yeah, good to be here.
Thanks. Where I want to start, Felix, is that designer who is right now watching us, what do they learn by the end of this conversation that would enable them to bring their ideas to life?
I think you would see and you could learn like how fast you can build, for example, an iOS app in like a couple of minutes, basically. And yeah, really see how the design process can or is changing these days.
Walking us through the first step that sparked the idea of you working on this project.
Yes. So, I mean, as it's 2026 and the time had evolved, during Christmas, during New Year's Eve, I set myself the challenge that I wanted to build an iOS app in like one day or in 1 week, end to end, all by myself. So during the time I was sitting and I was just trying to come up with ideas, or I was chatting with GPT about them. But it really, to me personally, it just started with this project, with the idea of that, it was January. I wanted to go to the gym. I didn't have so much motivation. So I wanted to have not another like productivity system or app that's like screaming at me, but just a small subtle nudge every day that's like motivating me. And that was like the core idea for this project. And yeah, next I can show you a bit how it basically came together.
And why now?
It's a good question. I mean, why now? Because basically, let's say my LinkedIn feed is or was filled with like people talking about the new tools, if in this example with Claude Code, and how easy it is to build fast and how it's changing the process. And of course, I immediately needed to try that myself because I really believe in, like learning by doing. So I just needed to try it out. And during the Christmas holidays, I basically had the time, or I gave myself the time to dig a little deeper into that. And yeah, we've seen it right now, right? So 2026, the whole year is basically around that.
True.
So yeah. So you see my screen and you see here 3 different windows. I mean, I have Claude Code opened in the terminal. I have Xcode here on the right side, and then the simulator on top of it. So in my case, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to build an app basically in like 1 day or a week. In this case, it turned into 2 because I massively over-engineered certain parts of it. But yeah, how did it all come together? Basically, I just got started trying to get comfortable with navigating Claude in the terminal. You know, it looks very techy and it looks like the Matrix, but I figured like talking with him here in this view and chatting, it's fine, right? It's like any other chat interface or GPT, etc. But I just started like describing to him what I wanted, and it was really clear that it should have been an iOS app. So I know I needed him to set up the environment, set up the project, set up the whole architecture, and maybe you can see it a bit here in the structure of for example, of the file. I mean, it's like I would have never written or understand all of this like myself, because I'm not a software engineer in that sense, right? I understand tech and I'm interested in it, but basically by talking to Claude here, I was telling him what I wanted, and he started setting it up technically, just that it works within the iOS system in this case here. And then, yeah. Oh yeah, please.
What I'm curious about is that what was the first prompt that you injected? Did you create like something very cohesive, or you just started building it together with Claude?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, in the beginning, I jumped into Claude very naive, let's say. So I was basically writing one huge prompt, and I refined the writing of my prompt. I actually did it in ChatGPT to let him help me refine and reshape my prompts for Claude so that it's better for Claude to understand those. But it actually started with like really one big prompt, which maybe it took like 5 or 10 minutes to compile, because I wanted to see a result fast and immediately. I was not going in very small chunks, but at the beginning, like basically give me this whole app concept and just show me something. And that was also kind of the point where then the design process started to change, right? Because from that point on, when I got the first version of the app, it may have not looked very good, or not everything was working. Yeah, of course not. But from there on, I was not imagining anymore, but I was able to start to shape reality by seeing what Claude has done in Xcode, in my simulator, or on my phone. So I'm just opening the app here right now, and you see a little the intro, onboarding animations. I mean, this is now the refined version where we are now. But if I see this as a designer, I immediately see my result like I would do in Figma. But now I can start to shape it, right? And I could start to tell Claude, I don't like the shape of this rectangle, let's say, or the animation, the way the bubbles are flowing, or the size or position of the buttons. So yeah, getting started seeing something fast was really groundbreaking here for me.
So you actually didn't use any, like you didn't create a design, let's say in Figma. You just started basically only working with Claude, as I understood, right?
Exactly. I mean, I had been a designer for 10, 12 years, and of course it always is or was in our nature to start with Figma or whatever tool. It doesn't matter, right? You start on a canvas or on paper. But I was just too lazy to do it that way, because by having this first prompt from Claude, building an initial screen or version of the product, I was trying to do the design in my head, because it was the same thinking that I would do if I put it in Figma. But now it's just
True.
not static anymore, because it's immediately interactive. And maybe it's working, maybe it's not working, maybe it's looking good or not good. But from there on, I can like immediately shape the real output, let's say. So only used Figma for like graphics or images or App Store screenshots, like still static materials, but not for designing the app.
How did you shape it towards the way that you actually want it? And I personally, I'm sharing my personal experience. What I'm usually stuck in is the debugging. I would call it debugging because I keep asking, like, I do this here, I don't like that one, this one is broken. I'm much more. I didn't really start from a design, like a really cohesive design and flow. I had ideas. I created like the user flows. I described it, and then add one main, let's say, North Star screen. Then I created the rest using Claude. But then I'm stuck in debugging. Did you also have the same problem? How did you make sure that you would get to the point or the screen or design that you actually were imagining?
Totally. I mean, the truth also with, as I was trying to describe a bit earlier, like with having like Claude and the setup, whatever tool or product you're building, right? If it's an app or a website or a platform, you get to see something really fast. But of course, then the devil is in the details. And in this project here also, I massively over-engineered certain flows and designs and animations. So debugging was a whole consistent part of that. And personal examples, right? Like I spent one day just arguing with Claude about, I mean, for example, let's take this intro animation of the app again. It's not showing right now, but you saw it earlier. Or any other like parts of the flows of the buttons. So many times Claude was very sure that he has fixed it either functionally, either visually, and he always promised me 100%
this time is fixed.
It's fixed. I tested it myself and I look at it, and I always was looking at it on simulator and on my phone, also on the, let's say you need to test it on the real platform because it behaves a bit differently, or the permissions or notifications, like very ecosystem related features. And he was always very sure that everything is working. And to be honest, I got very frustrated arguing with him at certain points. I got very tired of him promising that it's working. But I mean, I wanted to share, like, right now you see a very clean console of the log from the app that we're on right now. But let me proceed here a bit. So basically, as a designer, I think I had to learn a bit and understand how software development is working, in the sense of how do the developers debug and do these kinds of things. And actually, oh wait, I'm wondering why it's so clean right now.
Is it possible for you to zoom in a little bit so it will be visible right now?
I think I can enlarge it. I mean, it's a very clean console right now. I would have to check. There should be stuff going on. Maybe if I look here, you see it here. So after, let's say, the first 2, 3, 4, 5 prompts with Claude arguing, where he was sure that something was working and I was checking and I was realizing it's not working, he started suggesting, oh, let me add, first he's always wanted to add console logs, so stuff like I'm sharing here right now. And it's very technical, and then I was testing, I was copying these logs back to him to analyze it. Then as a next step, he also started to add visual elements on the screen to debug, right? When it comes to animations or so, for example. I can show you another test, actually. So for example, here in this app, I was trying some stuff with Claude and I wanted to build this carousel here. And debugging this visually, right, it was very hard to, you needed to very precisely explain to Claude how the animation should behave in different steps and how the cards like must move if they are letting go, because then it's like a stack of cards, right? And they go behind, and
Yeah.
so then
Then
he
you
was
have to
just
see them again, right? Like it.
yeah, like explain. So another very important part I realized is these days, maybe as a skill or as a trait as a designer, I think is like being able to express what you want or what you think about your design or about your behavior from the product or whatever you're building. Express this into like understandable knowledge. And this can come from high level up to very detailed interactions, for example.
One superpower of designers is to be good storytellers. I think it's another format of that interacting with AI right now. It's still our challenge, like how to explain it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you say storytelling, it resonates with me in the sense of like, that's our, let's say, that's the main job of like making sure the product, the story that the product or your company or your brand is trying to bring across, that this is like simple and easy to grasp, like with whoever you're targeting or whatever problem you're solving. But explaining the details of like, you basically have to be able to express your design process, like what you would do in Figma when you just think about it and you do it with your hands and you draw the rectangles, you put the masks, you add this gradient, whatever. You need to bring this into words. And it's not impossible, right? It's just like, it's a different thing in the process, like it's changing.
So back to the your iOS app. Beside Claude, what else? What other tools did you use, and why did you choose to use those? I actually I've downloaded your app. It's pretty nice and neat. What I really like about your work is that it's not just technical design. It's quite artistic design. It reminds me also the design itself. Like it also reminds me of some books, like. I don't know if you've seen Rick Rubin's book cover, for example, or
Mm-hmm.
Stephen Hawking. So it actually reminds me of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of tooling, I mentioned earlier, like I really, to build this app, I only used Claude, and to reshape the way I'm talking to Claude, I was chatting with GPT. And then if you want to deploy an iOS app, you just need Xcode in order to be able to ship it. And you need to create an account with the Apple Developer Program, which is just like, it's like, some basic information that you have to share, etc. So that's just the necessities of stuff. But in the example of this app, as you described it, a bit artistic, or to be honest, I was thinking about it very minimalistic. It's like as little design as I could apply. So it's using a lot of so iOS ecosystem standards like San Francisco font and New York font. I didn't add anything custom stuff to it. It's a lot of it's black and white. Of course, it works in dark mode, etc., etc. And it also has like so it's really an app which is like, it's sending
Yeah,
you
budget.
one sentence a
Cool.
day exactly. So I was adding as much as ecosystem into as much as I can, ecosystem friendly integrations, like for example a widget. So I don't even need to open the app because it's so simple and it's so minimalistic. The value from it comes from the fact of how you configure it. So you've seen earlier, I walked through the onboarding. There were a couple of steps of like personalization. And then based on those personalization steps that you take, like for example, You can choose your a goal or like a habit. Yeah, it's it's typically around New Year's Eve where people set resolutions for the upcoming year, and then you can just like manifest them here. Then you can also refine the tone of voice, because I mean, with having AI in the back of the product, I realized, there are people who like more calm and warm kind of tone of voice when they're being spoken to. But there's also people like who just need very direct and very, let's say, even tough. I just added a tough tone to these sentences as well. And then you can also add your zodiac sign. So stuff like this, like personalizing this, is making sure that the content that you receive from this app makes sense to you and your life and your situation. And then there's not much that you need to do in the app. Like you can just check the widget every morning, or you even get a notification with the sentence, and that's it. If you want to reflect a bit on it, there's also, there's the option to like set one word or even 2 or 3 per day. And it just leaves this visual memory of your year, basically, throughout these dots on the home screen. So it's very simple in that sense.
Pretty nice. So how did your designer's perspective, again, how did it affect on the way that you handled the whole process?
I mean, as designers these days, I think we know the standard or typical process of like, right, there's an idea, either you think about it yourself or you discuss it and refine it with many stakeholders. And then you start conceptualizing or drawing it, traditionally in Figma. So with all of this, we're like trying to make sure we're building the right thing, because let's say all of the time building software has been very expensive. It has been expensive because you needed developers, and I mean, of course, it depends on the product or on the project, right? Maybe you need more, or you need less, and then you need time. So it was always it was a process that one was not necessarily able to do himself with like more complex or even simpler things. So of course we were or we still are like always assuring that we built the right thing by designing it in Figma, by discussing it, making iterations to it, user testing it, before we eventually start building the stuff, and then the process of like QAing and shipping it until you were actually live. But what I'm just sharing and what we are discussing right now, I mean, and the motif of this year with the recent developments of AI, Claude, or whatever tool, it kind of changes it raised the bar, right? Like building is not expensive anymore. I mean, yes, you need a subscription and maybe it burns some credits and stuff, sure. But like I was trying to tell, you can build an initial working product in one day. So the field has changed, or it's evolving these days.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I personally, I've always came up, I always had ideas and I always brought it forward as long as a designer could bring it forward. I was always stuck because I couldn't find a developer who I could match with to build that. But now it's like so
Exactly.
liberating. Yeah.
Exactly. The beauty right now, if you want to, or if you are motivated, or if you have an idea that you burn for, you can just try to make it a reality yourself. Yeah, it doesn't need. You don't have all of these dependencies anymore these days, and that's just happening right now, right? So we're just experimenting and playing with it. Let's say, yeah. that was also, that's why this project exists, because I wanted to play with it.
And so we discussed also about the challenges that you had, but what was the particular challenge that you had when you were working on this project? And also, what would you do differently if you were to start again?
Yeah, good question. I mean, so one of the challenges with this project was to regression testing. Now that sounds very technical, but even also, as we said a bit earlier, like Claude is always very sure that everything is working and everything is really right, but it's not true. For example, right? I had many cases with this build of still where, for example, the widget was showing another sentence than inside the app, and I was like, "Oh, this can never happen because there's only one source of truth for one user per day." So there's so many, like even with a very simple concept or app like this, there are many, let's say, edge cases or technical considerations, like things which I assume somebody who has a background in software engineering has way more knowledge on than, let's say, the classical role as of a designer. So those were things that were hiccups for me in the process, and that I'm just starting to learn by doing. And if I were to start again, I still believe in the, let's say, golden triangle of roles coming together to ship something great or to solve a problem. As of like, if you were now to put one designer, one developer, and one let's say project owner or business person together to collaboratively work on one Claude GitHub repo, as like, for example, a project like this, then you could have all of the different relevant perspectives inside your prompts, inside the way you're building this product from the get-go. And that would probably save you a bit of time. That would probably make it even stronger or more robust or something like that. So yeah, I think that's how I would approach it next.
So the last question that I would like to ask you is that where do you think we are standing by the end of the year, we designers, in
Yeah.
terms of like how AI has affected the way that we are working?
Yeah, I think like this year it's gonna change the way that we as designers will work by making sure that all of us could have access to tools like Claude on whatever project or company that you're working in right now. So shaping the real product that you're working on in real time, it will probably be the norm. Making a fix or like changing something on prod, it's just, let's say, one prompt away. And you're not so much anymore interacting with static screens on the canvas, like a tool like Figma or so, but you're more treating the code base as the sort of truth, and you're evolving that in real time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that everything is going to shift so much, and not just for designers. For I remember a few years back, team challenges were how to shift from functional team to cross-functional teams. I think we have again one massive change this year that we have to. I don't know if we will be able to change it or like reshape again by the end of the year, but everything is moving so fast that we have to catch up with.
Yeah, it's very true. Everything is moving so fast. Like every day is something new. So maybe, I mean, in terms of FOMO, there are days where I try to catch up, and there are also days where I think, let's just sit and wait for 1 month because somebody else is gonna figure that out, and the tool has gonna be changed and evolved again. So in like 1 year from now, many standards some people would have already figured that out, and then it would become easier and more accessible. You don't need to try everything these days, I guess.
Thank you so much. I hope that you also enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, totally. It's like it's a deep unknown to all of us right now. We're just trying to figure it out, I guess.
Yeah, true.
Thanks for watching. If you're a designer building with AI, you're in the right place. Subscribe for more.